The stars stretched endlessly across the black canvas of space, glittering like tiny jewels. For centuries, the Zorathian Armada had ruled the outer sectors of the galaxy. Their fleets were unmatched, their technology superior, and their conquests feared across countless star systems. Yet even with all their experience, nothing had prepared them for the anomaly drifting silently into their space. Commander Rylan stood on the bridge of the flagship Vortalis, a sleek craft of gray and silver alloys that gleamed under the soft lights of the control room. His eyes scanned the holographic displays, each filled with streams of data from the distant edge of their sector. Something had appeared on the long-range scanners, a vessel unlike any they had catalogued. "Report," Rylan commanded, his voice firm but calm. His crew moved with practiced efficiency, fingers flying across touch-sensitive panels. Lieutenant Karen, the head of sensor operations, spoke without looking up from the glowing console. "Commander, we are detecting a single warship. Its composition is unfamiliar. The hull is metallic, yes, but it is unlike any alloy we have recorded. Energy signatures are high but stable. It is moving deliberately with purpose. There is no standard propulsion visible, yet it is fast." Rylan frowned. "No propulsion? How is it moving?" "We are not sure, sir," Karen replied, voice tight. "It does not match any known warp drives or thrusters in our records. It appears to anticipate our sensors almost as if it knows we are watching." A hush fell over the bridge. For a moment, no one spoke. The air seemed heavier. Rylan had encountered strange vessels before, but something about this one made the hairs on his arm stand on end. "Could it be a scout ship from the human colonies?" asked Ensign Thora, a young officer with sharp eyes and a quick mind. "I've read the reports. Humans are not supposed to have ships of this size or power in this sector." Rylan shook his head. "I don't know, but it doesn't matter what it's supposed to be. What matters is what it is. Prepare scanning protocols. I want every sensor focused on that ship. Let's see what we are dealing with before it reaches the edge of our system." The crew responded with urgency. Zorathian science was advanced, but even they knew humans were mysterious. For decades, human colonies had been isolated, their technology underestimated, their capabilities assumed weak. But history had shown that humans were unpredictable, sometimes terrifyingly so. As the scanners activated, a three-dimensional image of the human warship appeared in the center of the bridge. It was not massive, at least not compared to a Zorathian destroyer, but its shape was unusual. The hull was streamlined and smooth, almost organic in appearance. It glimmered faintly, reflecting the distant starlight in patterns that made it seem alive. Lieutenant Karen's voice trembled slightly as he spoke. "Commander, the energy emissions. They are far beyond anything our data predicted. Shields are at full capacity, yet they are holding perfectly. Weapon systems are active, but they are unlike anything we know. The rate of fire, the power output, it is incredible." Rylan leaned forward, studying the image. The humans had always relied on ingenuity rather than sheer numbers or size. Could a single human warship truly carry this much power? He had read the reports of human resilience, but seeing it in this context was almost impossible to believe. "Bring up their crew manifest," Rylan ordered, almost hoping for a clue. Karen frowned. "Commander, that's the strange part. Crew complement is small, very small, less than 50 personnel, yet the ship's systems are fully operational, including advanced weaponry, shields, and navigation. It does not make sense." Rylan felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He had faced fleets of enemies before. He had planned for attacks, ambushes, and sabotage. But this was something else entirely. Something alive, clever, and utterly human. "Alert all ships in the fleet," Rylan said finally. "Form a defensive perimeter around the anomaly. Keep scanners active, and prepare for the possibility of first contact. I want every officer ready." As the Zorathian fleet adjusted its formation, the human ship continued to drift silently toward the sector's heart. It moved with confidence, as if it were unafraid of the dozens of alien ships now shadowing it. The aliens could not help but feel a growing sense of unease. Meanwhile, on the human vessel, Captain Elena Voss stood on the bridge, her posture calm and deliberate. The hum of the ship's engines filled the space, soft but powerful like a heartbeat. Her crew moved efficiently, monitoring systems, plotting courses, and keeping watch for threats. "Status report," Elena said in a clear voice. Lieutenant Arik, her second in command, spoke without hesitation. "All systems operational, Captain. Shields at maximum. Weapons ready. Scanners detect multiple life forms nearby. Unknown species, hostile possibly. They have not engaged yet. Elena's gaze narrowed slightly. Let them watch. Curiosity can be dangerous. They will learn their lesson soon enough, but for now we observe. Maintain course. Keep shields up, but do not provoke unless necessary. Her calm contrasted sharply with the fear building in the Zorathian fleet. The humans' approach was deliberate and methodical, not reckless. That precision, combined with the sheer power radiating from their warship, made the aliens uneasy. They had faced threats before, but this was something beyond their comprehension. Commander Ryland paced on the bridge of Vortalis, trying to gather his thoughts. He had trained for encounters with rogue human ships, for skirmishes with small fleets, but nothing could prepare him for this level of technology paired with human cunning. He realized with a sinking feeling that underestimating humans had always been a dangerous mistake. "Sir?" Karen said quietly, breaking his concentration on the scanners. "I'm picking up something unusual. The ship seems to be interacting with our scans. It's almost as if it knows what we are thinking. Every probe we send, it adjusts, evades, or counters in ways that should be impossible." Ryland stopped pacing and stared at the console. "Are you suggesting the humans can anticipate us?" Karen swallowed. "Yes, Commander. It's as if the ship itself understands our actions, almost sentient in a way." The bridge fell silent again. The concept was almost unthinkable. Ships could be advanced, AI could be sophisticated, but anticipating the moves of an entire fleet in real time, that was beyond even the most optimistic Zorathian projections. Far above them, in the void of space, the human warship glided steadily. Captain Elena's eyes scanned the holographic readouts, noting the positions of the alien ships. She made small adjustments, not hurriedly, but with precision, keeping her distance while studying them. Humans had always relied on strategy, intelligence, and timing, traits that often made the impossible possible. Back on Vortalis, Ryland made a decision. "We need closer observation. Deploy reconnaissance drones and contact command. We may need reinforcements. This is not just a ship, it is a threat unlike any we have seen." The drones were launched, small and agile, designed to gather data without risking the fleet. They moved closer to the human vessel, but every time they approached, the ship's defenses seemed to anticipate their trajectory, creating small but effective countermeasures that neutralized the probes without causing damage. "Commander," Karan whispered, almost afraid to speak. "They are countering us without firing a shot." "This is alarming." Ryland nodded grimly. He knew the situation was changing rapidly. The humans were not just surviving. They were demonstrating capabilities that made the Zorathians' most advanced fleets look primitive. As the two forces studied each other across the void of space, a silent understanding began to form. This encounter would not be simple. The humans were clever, resilient, and terrifyingly advanced, and the Zorathians, despite all their power and experience, were beginning to realize that they had underestimated the true strength of humanity. Captain Elena finally spoke, her voice calm yet commanding. "Maintain vigilance, prepare for anything. But remember, our strength lies not just in our weapons, but in our resolve. We do not strike unless necessary, but we never retreat. The galaxy will soon understand what it means to face a human warship." The stars stretched endlessly, but in that moment, the distance between the two forces felt charged with tension. A single human ship against a fleet of alien warships, an encounter that would be remembered for generations. And somewhere deep inside the Zorathian command, a seed of fear was planted. The war had not yet begun, but the shadow of terror was already spreading across the hearts of those who dared to confront humanity. The Zorathian fleet lingered at the edge of the sector, their sleek gray ships forming a protective perimeter around the anomaly that had appeared without warning. Commander Ryland stood on the bridge of Vortalis, eyes glued to the holographic display where the human warship floated silently like a jewel in the void. "Continue the scans," Ryland ordered. His voice was steady, but inside he felt a tight knot of unease. "I want everything. Hull composition, energy readings, crew numbers, weapon systems, everything." Lieutenant Karen's fingers flew across the console as new data poured in. The Zorathian scanners were advanced, capable of analyzing objects light years away. But even their most powerful instruments struggled with the human vessel. "Commander," Karen said cautiously, "the readings are not consistent with known physics. The ship's hull absorbs energy in ways we cannot explain. Its shields regenerate almost instantly and Rylan leaned forward. And what? And its weapon systems, Karen continued, voice tight, have power outputs that could destroy multiple Zorathian destroyers in a single strike. And yet, the ship shows no signs of overheating or stress. It is operating flawlessly, despite immense energy output. A murmur ran through the bridge crew. No Zorathian had ever encountered a vessel that combined such destructive power with perfect stability. They had faced ancient warships of great size and fleets of dozens of vessels, but none had ever displayed this combination of strength and efficiency. Bring up the AI analysis, Rylan said, hoping for some clue. The humans were supposed to rely on simple technology, not advanced AI systems. Yet the scan suggested something far more complex. Karen's eyes widened as he reviewed the results. Commander, the ship is integrating crew actions with advanced neural networks. It is almost predicting our observations. Every maneuver, every change we detect, the ship adapts instantly. It's as if it knows what we are thinking. The bridge fell silent. Sentient ships were a myth in Zorathian history, a legend from old tales of explorers who had imagined machines alive with intelligence. But this was real. The human vessel was not just a warship. It was a combination of human intuition and machine precision, a partnership that had no equal in the galaxy. Rylan ran a hand across his face. Prepare the tactical team, he said, his voice tight. I want simulations of engagement scenarios. If this ship attacks, we need to know how it will respond. Meanwhile, aboard the human warship, Captain Elena Voss walked calmly through the narrow corridors, her boots echoing softly on the polished floors. Crew members glanced at her with quiet respect, knowing that her composure in moments of tension was as important as the ship's weapons. Lieutenant Arik approached her with a tablet displaying scans of the approaching fleet. Captain, the alien ships have not engaged yet, but they are forming a defensive perimeter. Sensors show multiple attempts to probe our shields. They are clearly trying to understand us. Elena smiled faintly. Let them try. Curiosity can be dangerous when combined with ignorance. Keep monitoring, but do not respond unless necessary. Our strength is our patience. Back on Vortalis, the Zorathians launched additional probes. Small, fast-moving drones streaked toward the human ship, leaving faint trails of light behind them. The crew watched as the drones approached, expecting the human vessel to react. What happened next left everyone frozen. The human warship emitted a soft pulse of energy. The probes slowed, wavered, and then halted entirely. Moments later, they reversed course and returned to the Zorathian ships, intact but completely neutralized. There was no damage, no explosions, only a subtle but undeniable demonstration of control. Karen's voice trembled. Commander, they've stopped our probes without firing a single weapon. And the energy signature, it's barely detectable. It's like they understand exactly what we are sending and how to counter it. Rylan's jaw tightened. The Zorathians were not accustomed to fear. They were disciplined, ruthless, and confident in their superiority. But here, in the silent darkness of space, something primal stirred within them, a growing sense of terror at the unknown. Prepare all ships for defensive maneuvers, Rylan ordered, forcing his mind to remain calm. We may need to retreat if this escalates. Alert the fleet, this is not a standard engagement. This is something new, something we cannot predict. The human captain remained calm. Elena observed the Zorathians' movements through her tactical displays. Every adjustment they made, every small maneuver was noted and considered by her ship's neural systems. The combination of human strategy and AI foresight allowed the warship to operate at a level the Zorathians could barely comprehend. Lieutenant Arik, Elena said, her voice steady, run the simulations again. Predict their next moves based on current trajectory. Prepare countermeasures but hold. Observe, learn, and wait for the right moment. Her officers nodded, impressed with the clarity of her command. Humans were often underestimated, but their strength lay not in numbers, but in ingenuity. Every decision was calculated, every risk measured. Back on the Zorathian flagship, Commander Rylan reviewed the incoming data. He had fought humans before, but never like this. A single warship, fully armed with a small crew, had the potential to challenge an entire fleet. He could not deny it any longer. The humans were terrifying, not because of brutality, but because of their intelligence, creativity, and unyielding courage. The bridge crew whispered among themselves, trying to rationalize what they were seeing. "It can't be," one officer said quietly. "How can a single ship do all this? It's impossible." Ryland shook his head. "We have to accept it. It is real. And if we engage them without understanding, we risk everything. Prepare for full analysis. Do not fire unless fired upon, but make sure we are ready for anything." As the alien fleet watched, the human warship continued its deliberate course through the sector. It was almost serene in its movements, yet every pulse, every adjustment radiated control. The humans were not hasty, not reckless. They were patient, calculating, and aware. The Zorathians realized another alarming fact. The human ship's size belied its capabilities. Though smaller than many of their own cruisers, its systems were dense, integrated, and highly efficient. Energy output, shielding, weapons range, all exceeded the expected parameters for a ship of its scale. The aliens had always relied on brute force, overwhelming numbers, and heavy armaments. The humans relied on adaptability, clever design, and strategy. Commander Rylan exhaled slowly. "We need to reevaluate everything we thought we knew about humanity," he said to no one in particular. "They are unlike anything in our records." And as the Zorathians prepared for a possible engagement, the human captain gave one simple order. "Hold course. Observe. Learn. They will test us, but we will endure. And when the moment comes, we will show them what humans are capable of." The void of space seemed to stretch even wider as the two forces studied each other. The Zorathians were unsure, uneasy, and increasingly aware of the danger posed by this single human vessel. The humans, calm and precise, were aware of the alien fleet's intentions, prepared for any move, yet patient in their strategy. And in that silence, a seed of inevitability formed. This encounter would not be ordinary. The humans were not just another species to conquer. They were a force of nature, unpredictable, intelligent, and fearless. Commander Ryland could feel it in his bones. Underestimating humans had always been a mistake. Now, with a single warship observing and testing their fleet, that mistake could cost them everything. The stars continued to shine around them, silent witnesses to the gathering tension. The Zorathians, for all their experience and power, were beginning to understand the terrifying truth. Humans were not just fighters, they were survivors, strategists, and masters of adaptability. And this small human warship, with its minimal crew and incredible technology, was about to redefine what it meant to confront humanity. The Zorathian fleet continued to hover in tense silence, each ship maintaining a perfect formation around the anomaly. Commander Ryland's eyes darted from one holographic display to another, trying to make sense of the readings. Yet every moment brought new surprises. The human warship, though smaller than the fleet's cruisers, radiated energy levels that were off the charts. Shields, weapons, propulsion, all of it exceeded any known standard. Lieutenant Karen's voice trembled as he reported the latest data. "Commander, the shields are absorbing sustained energy discharges from our own test beams without damage. And the hull? It seems to repair itself automatically. There is no sign of strain, no overheating, no structural weakening." Ryland's jaw tightened. "Explain this." "How is this possible?" Karan shook his head. "We don't know. Our probes cannot penetrate the hull. The composition is unknown. Even our most advanced instruments fail to analyze the internal structure. It is as if the ship is alive, or at least aware." A ripple of unease moved through the bridge. The Zorathians were trained to fight, not to be frightened. But the impossible reality of this human vessel filled the crew with a fear they had never felt. "Commander," Karen continued, "I am detecting neural network signatures interfacing directly with the crew. The humans are not just operating the ship, they are integrated with it. Every action they take is synchronized with the ship's systems in real time." "It's extraordinary." Ryland swallowed hard. Humans had long been underestimated. History had shown that their species relied on cleverness, adaptability, and courage. But to see it manifest in a single warship capable of taking on an entire fleet, it was unprecedented. "Alert all ships," Ryland ordered, his voice steady despite the tension. "We are dealing with more than a warship. This is a weapon and a mind. Prepare for full engagement protocols. We must be ready for anything." Meanwhile, aboard the human warship, Captain Elena Voss observed the approaching fleet through her holographic display. Her calm presence contrasted sharply with the growing panic in the alien fleet. She understood the power of her vessel, yet she relied not just on technology but on strategy and patience. "Lieutenant Arik," Elena said, "continue monitoring their formation. Note any changes in trajectory or speed. Prepare countermeasures but hold fire. Observe, learn, and wait for the moment when action is required." Arik nodded. The human crew moved with quiet efficiency, each officer aware of their roles. The ship's AI systems worked seamlessly with the humans, translating commands into precise adjustments of shields, weapons, and navigation. The synergy was flawless. Back on Vortalis, Rylan noticed something else. Despite the human ship's immense power, the crew was minimal. Less than 50 humans were aboard, yet they controlled systems that could rival an entire Zorathian destroyer squadron. How could such a small crew manage such a massive and advanced ship? The answer, terrifyingly, was that they didn't just manage it. They were an integral part of it. "Commander," Karen whispered, "it is adapting to our scans. Every probe we send, every maneuver we attempt, it responds instantly. It is predicting our actions." Rylan felt a chill run down his spine. "Predicting, you mean? Anticipating?" "Yes," Karen said quietly, "at an almost human level of intuition, but faster. It's as if the ship itself understands our strategies before we implement them." The implications were staggering. The Zorathians had faced intelligent opponents before, but never anything that combined human cunning with machine precision in this way. This was a new level of threat, unlike anything their tactics had ever prepared them for. Rylan turned to his officers, his voice firm. "We need more data. Launch additional probes, focus all sensors, and try to analyze their systems. But caution, do not engage unless they provoke us. This is no ordinary vessel, it is beyond comprehension." The alien fleet launched small drones once more. They streaked toward the human ship, leaving trails of light that blinked against the darkness of space. The human vessel responded, not with weapons but with precise pulses of energy that neutralized each probe before it could get too close. The drones returned intact, harmless but completely ineffective. Karan swallowed nervously. "Commander, it's controlling our drones without firing a shot. They are completely neutralized. No damage, no risk, just stopped. And it seems intentional, like a warning." Rylan nodded grimly. Fear had begun to take root among the officers. They were trained to face enemies, not to be outsmarted by a single ship with a small crew. And yet here they were, witnessing humans do exactly that. Meanwhile, Captain Elena gave one quiet order. "Hold position. Continue observing. Let them test us, but do not show weakness. Patience is our advantage." Her calm, deliberate command inspired confidence in her crew. Humans thrived in such moments. When others panicked, they remained focused. They used observation, analysis, and strategy to turn the impossible into the achievable. Back on Vortalis, Commander Rylan realized something else. The human ship's energy signatures were far greater than expected. Its shields could take heavy bombardment. Its weapons could destroy multiple cruisers, and yet its hull remained intact. The efficiency was terrifying. The humans had not just built a ship, they had perfected it. "Commander," Karen said almost in awe, "it's small, but more powerful than an entire fleet of our destroyers. And the crew, it's astonishing how few there are." "How can this be?" Rylan clenched his fists. History had shown that humans survived and thrived against overwhelming odds. Now they had created a vessel that embodied their ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. It was a reflection of humanity itself, small in numbers but capable of achieving the impossible. As the two forces studied each other in silence, a sense of inevitability formed. The Zorathians could no longer see humans as weak. Their technology, their courage, and their cunning had turned a single warship into a weapon capable of challenging an entire fleet. Rylan spoke quietly to himself, almost as a warning. "We have underestimated them, and that mistake could cost us everything." The stars stretched endlessly around them, indifferent to the fear and tension that gripped the two forces. The human warship glided silently through space, a symbol of resilience and precision. And the Zorathians, despite all their power and experience, were beginning to grasp the terrifying truth. Humans were not just fighters, they were strategists, survivors, and masters of adaptability. Commander Rylan realized another truth. The upcoming encounter would not be a simple battle. It would be a test of everything they knew, a confrontation that could change the balance of power in the sector. Humans had proven, without firing a single shot, that they were a force to be reckoned with. On the human bridge, Captain Elena observed the alien fleet. Her calm eyes reflected determination and quiet confidence. "They think they are powerful," she murmured. "Let them watch. Their fear will teach them caution, and we will show them humanity's strength when the time comes." And as the silence of space stretched between the two sides, the Zorathians understood that something monumental had begun. This was not merely the observation of a strange ship. It was the moment when humans, in their quiet strength and extraordinary ingenuity, revealed the true meaning of terror to those who underestimated them. For the Zorathians, the shadow of fear had settled deep into their ranks, and for the humans, the warship glided silently, a harbinger of a power that would soon be fully revealed. The void of space stretched endlessly around the Zorathian fleet, yet no emptiness could calm the unease growing in the hearts of its officers. Commander Ryland stood at the bridge of Vortalis, his eyes fixed on the holographic display of the human warship. The readings had grown more alarming by the hour. The vessel, small in size, radiated a quiet confidence, moving with precision and efficiency that was impossible to predict. Lieutenant Karen's voice trembled as he updated the commander. "Commander, their energy output is still rising. Weapon systems are cycling with perfect timing. Their shields regenerate faster than we can measure, and the crew is minimal. This is astonishing. It defies all logic." Ryland clenched his jaw. "Logic doesn't matter anymore. We need to understand their capabilities before we make a single move. Initiate another full scan sequence. I want every sensor trained on that ship." The bridge fell silent as the Zorathians worked frantically, deploying drones and recalibrating sensors. Every probe sent toward the human vessel was countered almost instantly. The ship emitted energy pulses that neutralized drones without damaging them, leaving the aliens confused and fearful. "They're controlling our probes without firing a single shot," Karen whispered. "It's as if they can read the intentions of the fleet itself." Ryland's hands tightened around the railing of the command chair. "Prepare the tactical simulations. Run all possible engagement scenarios. If this ship decides to attack, we need to know how it will respond. We must be ready for anything." Meanwhile, aboard the human vessel, Captain Elena Voss remained calm. She walked the bridge quietly, observing the Zorathian fleet through the holographic display. Her eyes were sharp, her mind focused. Humans had always relied on intelligence, adaptability, and courage. Technology was a tool, but strategy and patience were the true weapons. "Lieutenant Arik," Elena said, her voice steady, "monitor all fleet movements. Note patterns in their behavior, but do not respond unless necessary. Let them reveal their intentions. Observe, analyze, and prepare to act when the moment is right." Arik nodded and began running simulations, his fingers moving swiftly across the controls. The crew's efficiency and precision reflected years of training and the seamless integration of human intuition with advanced AI. The warship itself seemed almost alive, responding instantly to the smallest adjustment of the crew. Back on Vortalis, Ryland stared at the human vessel, his mind racing. The Zorathians had faced numerous threats in their history, but nothing had prepared them for this. The small human warship had more power, more efficiency, and more adaptability than any fleet of destroyers they had ever deployed. It was a weapon that could not be measured by conventional means. "Commander," Karen said cautiously, "we've detected something else. The ship is predicting our maneuvers before we even initiate them. Every time we adjust course or test our weapons, the ship compensates instantly. It's as if it knows our plans." Ryland exhaled slowly. "They've always been unpredictable. Now we're seeing it magnified through technology we cannot comprehend. Prepare all ships, defensive measures at maximum, and keep sensors focused. Every second counts." The human warship gliding silently through space made a subtle adjustment to its trajectory. It was deliberate, unhurried, yet perfectly calculated. The Zorathian fleet noticed immediately, their sensors reporting small but precise changes in movement. The aliens' confidence began to waver. Captain Elena observed the adjustments on her tactical display. "They're testing us," she murmured. "Let them. Every move they make teaches us more. Patience will be our advantage." The Zorathians, despite their numbers, began to feel a creeping dread. Each attempt to scan, probe, or predict the human warship's behavior was met with immediate adaptation. The ship was small, but it had turned the fleet's power against itself, neutralizing threats without direct engagement. Rylan realized that traditional tactics would not work. Brute force, overwhelming numbers, and heavy bombardment had always been the foundation of Zorathian strategy. Now, against a single human warship, all of that seemed irrelevant. The humans had created something that could not be confronted using conventional methods. "Commander," Karan said, his voice tight, "if we continue as we are, we risk exposing weaknesses. The ship anticipates us. Every maneuver we make, every scan, every adjustment, it responds instantly. We cannot match it in strategy or speed." Rylan nodded grimly. "We need a new approach. Focus on observation. Do not engage unless provoked. But stay ready. If they decide to strike, we must respond immediately. And alert, Command. We may require reinforcements. This is no ordinary threat." A soft hum filled the human warship as its AI systems processed the fleet's movements. Captain Elena continued to observe, her mind calculating patterns, predicting behavior, and preparing countermeasures. The ship's systems worked seamlessly with her commands, integrating every adjustment, every calculation, and every prediction. The Zorathians had power in numbers. The humans had precision, intelligence, and adaptability. In the Zorathian fleet, whispers spread among officers. "How can a single ship do this?" one asked. "Its shields, weapons, crew? It's impossible." Rylan understood their fear. He had felt it himself. The seed of terror planted deep in the mind when faced with something truly incomprehensible. He realized that humanity had turned ingenuity into a weapon, and now, even without firing a shot, they had shifted the balance of power. Suddenly, the human warship executed a subtle, almost invisible maneuver. Sensors reported it as a minor shift, yet it disrupted the formation of the Zorathian fleet. Ships had to adjust course immediately to avoid collision, revealing the first hint of human control over the engagement. "Commander!" Karan shouted, alarmed. "They're manipulating our formation without direct attack." "We're being tested." Rylan's eyes narrowed. "Exactly what I feared. They are teaching us caution before we even engage. Keep the fleet in defensive posture. Observe and record. Do not make rash decisions." Captain Elena, observing the ripple of adjustments across the alien fleet, allowed a faint smile. Humans were patient and precise. They did not rush into conflict, but they understood timing. Every action, every pause, every small adjustment was part of a strategy that the Zorathians could barely perceive. The tension in the void of space grew palpable. Both sides understood that this was not merely reconnaissance, it was a test of understanding, of patience, and of strength. The humans demonstrated power without aggression. The Zorathians displayed caution mingled with fear. "Commander," Karan said quietly, "I fear that our initial assessment was wrong. This is not a simple threat. It's a demonstration of mastery. We may have underestimated humanity entirely." Rylan exhaled, his mind heavy with the weight of reality. He had underestimated humans before, and it had cost others dearly. This time the stakes were higher. A single warship with a small crew could challenge the might of the Zorathian armada itself. "Prepare all ships for continued observation," Rylan ordered. "We maintain distance. We continue scans, and we learn from them. That is our only chance of surviving this encounter unscathed." As the human warship glided silently through the starfield, Captain Elena gave a quiet instruction. "Maintain course, observe, learn. Every move they make reveals a lesson. Our strength is not just our weapons, but our understanding. And when the time comes, we will show them what humans can do." The stars stretched endlessly, indifferent to the tension between the two forces. The Zorathians, despite their experience and power, were beginning to understand the terrifying truth. Humans were not merely another species. They were thinkers, strategists, and survivors, capable of turning the impossible into reality. Commander Rylan looked at the alien fleet, then at the human vessel far ahead. "We have underestimated them," he said softly, almost to himself. "And we are only beginning to understand the consequences." The seed of fear had taken root, and there was no turning back. The humans had revealed a power beyond brute force, beyond numbers and beyond expectation, and in the silence of space, the first real test of that power had only just begun. The silence of space between the Zorathian fleet and the human warship had grown tense, heavy with anticipation. Commander Rylan paced the bridge of Vortalis, his mind racing through every possible scenario. The humans had not fired a single weapon yet, but their power, control, and precision had unsettled even the most confident officers. Lieutenant Karen was at his station, monitoring every signal. "Commander," he said, voice tight with concern. "They're maintaining course and speed, but energy fluctuations indicate they are ready. Their weapon systems are primed, shields at maximum, and AI integration at full capacity. If they decide to strike, we could be overwhelmed before we realize it." Ryland's eyes narrowed. "Keep all ships on high alert. This is the first strike we cannot afford to provoke, but we must be ready to defend ourselves. Alert all officers. Defensive formations at maximum." In the distant void, the human warship continued its deliberate glide, smooth and calculated. Captain Elena Voss observed the Zorathians' subtle adjustments through her display. Every maneuver they made, every adjustment in formation, every pulse from their sensors, it was all data to her. "Lieutenant Auric," she said quietly, "analyze their fleet positions. Look for weak points or hesitation. They are disciplined, but even discipline has limits. Prepare for defensive maneuvers, but hold fire until absolutely necessary. Observation first, strategy second, action last." The crew moved like a single organism, each officer aware of their role, each system in perfect synchronization with the humans' commands. The AI interpreted and executed decisions instantly, ensuring shields, weapons, and navigation systems were optimized. The human warship was small, yet it exuded a quiet power that the Zorathians could feel across the void. Back on Vortalis, Ryland noticed subtle anomalies in the human vessel's energy signatures. It was as though the ship were alive, responding with intuition rather than programming. Every attempt to anticipate their next move seemed to have already been accounted for. Fear rippled through the bridge crew, though none dared speak it aloud. Suddenly, one of the outer Zorathian cruisers reported movement. "Commander, they're adjusting position." Ryland stared at the display. The human warship had shifted its trajectory slightly, barely noticeable but enough to challenge the fleet's formation. Small course corrections were made across multiple ships to avoid interference, revealing the humans' subtle influence. "They are testing us," Karen said, voice almost a whisper. "This is not an attack yet, but it's intentional. They want us to react, to make mistakes." Ryland exhaled slowly. "Prepare for anything. Do not fire unless provoked. And remember, every move we make is being studied." A faint pulse of energy rippled through the void, and the human warship fired its first weapon, not at the fleet directly, but as a demonstration. A concentrated beam struck a distant asteroid, vaporizing it instantly. The display showed that the ship's aim and precision were flawless. The Zorathians watched in awe and fear. Lieutenant Karen shook his head. "Commander, they've destroyed that asteroid in a single shot, and their aim is perfect." That was not a warning, it was a statement. Ryland's jaw tightened. "It's a statement we cannot ignore. Increase vigilance. Focus all sensors. Defensive shields at maximum. Every ship, every crew member, prepare." On the human warship, Captain Elena observed the effect of their demonstration. "They see what we are capable of," she said softly. "They understand that we do not strike recklessly, but they also know we can. Keep systems ready. Continue monitoring. They will test us again soon." The Zorathian fleet scrambled to maintain formation. Ships moved with precision, but the humans' demonstration had revealed the gap between sheer numbers and strategy. The aliens' confidence wavered and whispers spread among the officers. "How can a single ship do this?" one asked. "Its power, its precision. It is impossible." Ryland turned to the tactical display. "Focus on understanding, not fear," he said firmly, though fear tinged his own voice. "We need to anticipate their moves, not react blindly. They are clever, but they are still human. That is our advantage. Observation and calculation must guide us." Meanwhile, the human warship continued its careful course, adjusting position slightly with each analysis of the fleet. The crew anticipated every reaction, every possible outcome. Every maneuver of the Zorathians was studied and countered with subtle precision. The humans were not aggressive yet, but their control over the engagement was undeniable. Lieutenant Auric turned to Captain Elena. "They're becoming unsettled. Their formations are less rigid, their movements cautious. They fear making a mistake," Elena nodded. "Good. Let them feel the consequences of underestimating us. But patience is key. We strike only when it is necessary and strategic." Back on Vortalis, Ryland's eyes narrowed. They are testing our nerves. We cannot afford rash decisions. Maintain discipline. Keep shields ready. Observe every action. Every small move could be a trap. The human warship fired another precise demonstration, this time targeting a floating asteroid cluster. Each shot was calculated to demonstrate power without causing unnecessary destruction. The Zorathian sensors recorded the results. Energy output, weapon precision, and shield integrity. All were beyond anything they had ever seen. Karen's voice trembled. Commander, even a single shot like that could destroy multiple Zorathian cruisers. Yet the ship remains unharmed. And the crew. There are barely 50 of them controlling all this. How is this possible? Ryland felt the weight of reality settle upon him. History had taught him to respect humans, but this was beyond respect. The humans' ingenuity, calm, and courage had created a vessel that could challenge an entire fleet without a single direct confrontation. Prepare for direct engagement protocols, he ordered. We may need to respond, but proceed carefully. Every move must be calculated. Do not underestimate them, the human captain observed quietly, noting the subtle changes in the Zorathian fleet. The aliens' fear and caution were growing, yet they still controlled the numbers. Elena knew that balance, patience, and strategy would be the deciding factors. Every display of power by the humans was measured, every adjustment intentional. Lieutenant Arik, she said, continue monitoring. They will test us further, and we must be ready. Our strength is not just in our weapons, but in our ability to remain calm, precise, and strategic. That is humanity's advantage. As the first real confrontation approached, both sides understood the stakes. The humans had revealed power, precision, and control. The Zorathians were beginning to realize that numbers and brute force might not be enough. Ryland stared at the holographic image of the human warship. We have underestimated them, he murmured, and that mistake could cost us everything. In the vast silence of space, the human warship glided forward, calm and deliberate. The first strike had been made, not to destroy but to demonstrate. And the Zorathians, for the first time in their history, understood that they faced not just technology, but the ingenuity, strategy, and courage of humanity.